Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Student Event Guidelines webinar. I am Lauren Chapman, and I am going to walk you through the new event guidelines that we have so that student organizations can plan events with the health and safety in mind for all attendees. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is being recorded. And if you have a question, you're welcome to put it into the Q&A. I have a helper with me, Don Norris, who will take a look at those questions and answer those, or maybe nudge me to answer those for the whole group, just in case that's helpful. So here we go. So before we get into the event guidelines, this is a general reminder for things that all student organizations must do every year to get compliant. That means that you need to re-register your organization on Connect, especially updating your roster. All of the important information that we share with student organizations will come via Connect, and you'll only get it if your roster is up to date. So make sure that that is up to date. And at least 4 officers and 1 advisor must complete the MOM training on Canvas. So this stands for Mandatory Organizations Meeting, and this has all of the really important information that your organization needs to operate successfully this year. And you have until September 11th to get trained. You can find the training at smu.edu/mom2020. And if you have any questions, you can email involvement@smu.edu as well. So we want you guys to plan your events with all students in mind. Before we get into the nitty-gritty details about what it's like to plan in-person events right now, we want to remind you that over 1,000 students, undergrad students, are fully virtual. So they're not coming to classes on campus. They really are not coming to campus at all, but they are still paying the same fees that all in-person students are, which includes fees that fund chartered student organizations. So as you are putting together events, you want to make sure that you offer a virtual component whenever you can, and also that you are planning a variety of events, maybe some that are best in person, maybe some that are best virtual or best done asynchronously even, so that everyone can participate. That's really important to consider right now. So there are some student event guidelines that apply to all events regardless of level. And we'll talk a little bit more about levels in a minute. So first, you want to follow all CDC, State of Texas, and Dallas County guidelines. That's a lot. So if you are planning an event, you'll want to take a look at those guidelines pretty early in the planning process to make sure that you are adhering to them. There are links to these guidelines on a website that I will show you here in a minute. Social distancing must occur. So at least 6 feet between participants, even outdoors. There, you probably want to think about what kind of signage you're going to have to encourage or require this, how you're going to manage any lines or cues that might happen in any events that you have. So you want to think about that. All attendees are required to wear face coverings, and this includes outdoors as well. You want to offer a virtual option for the reasons that I talked about just a minute ago. You want to record event attendance through Connect. If you complete the MOM training, there's a lot of great information about how mobile check-in works and how to upload the attendance through Connect. You can either do it with mobile check-in, which happens in real time at the event using your phone, or you can upload a participation list after the event. This is especially important all the time, but really important during COVID times, because we want to be able to do contact tracing should the need occur. And then finally, outdoor events are preferable to indoor, but regardless of whether your event is outdoor or indoor, all of these guidelines must be followed. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a second while I get the website up. All right, so here we are at our website that has all of the information that you need about these event guidelines. So the easiest way to get to this website is just smu.edu/event guidelines. It's a really quick and easy URL that will take you to this site. So to kind of just go through section by section, these event guidelines have been planned for all student organization events, whether they are formal or informal, whether the student organization is recognized or not, and whether or not the, you know what, I lost a sentence just in the middle there, so we're just going to keep going. These guidelines govern any activity, event, meeting, gathering, practice, ceremony, etc., that is planned by an SMU student or by a student group. So if you think to yourself, I wonder if this thing that I'm planning or this thing that I'm going to go to or this thing that my friends are doing falls under these guidelines, the answer is probably yes. So this governs both on-campus and off-campus, on and off-campus activities. A special note is that if any events intend to invite guests who are external to the SMU community, you must receive additional approval by completing the form that's linked right here. So we have the guidelines that are applicable to all events on the previous slide. Additionally, Student Affairs has developed 4 guidance levels to provide more specific expectations dependent on the current campus climate. So they go from green, which is the lowest amount of restrictions, yellow and orange, which are a medium amount of restrictions, and red, which is the most restrictions and in which in-person events are not allowed. There is a spreadsheet down at the bottom of this page here that has all of the details for all of the different alert levels. Before I get there, I want to remind you how important it is for student leaders to really try their best and to do everything that you can to make sure that your events are as safe as possible. In addition, if an individual student or a student organization is not following these guidelines or is not following the expectations outlined in the Pledge to Protect SMU, which you all completed as part of your COVID training that you did before the first day of class on Canvas, there are conduct sanctions and investigations that could result from that. So make sure that you're being responsible so that you're not held or found responsible for breaching these guidelines or expectations. Okay, so our current student event guidance level is orange. So that's one of the ones in the middle. Not quite as restrictive as red, but certainly not as unrestricted as green. So the event format means that there are virtual events only with limited to no in-person activities. Under food and beverage, there's no food allowed at this time for any reason, regardless of the length of the event. And only outdoor activities or events are permitted at this time. I am not going to read through the rest of these guidelines because you guys can read them on your own when you are planning your event. But it really covers everything from the COVID capacity to having an ingress and an egress plan, health screenings if that might be required, travel, alcohol, giveaways, guests and volunteers. We really cover it all here on this website. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing again and go back to the PowerPoint. All right, so I accidentally talked about this already, but this is a reminder about accountability for both the individual and the organization. Student leaders have a responsibility to plan safe events. Student organizations and individual leaders who are found responsible will be subject to disciplinary action through the SMU Code of Conduct. And I didn't mention this specifically, so it's good to bring up this particular detail. If the student group is alleged to have hosted an unauthorized party or social gathering on or off campus, they will be placed on an immediate cease and desist or an interim suspension pending the outcome of the conduct process. So this is pretty serious. We don't want you or your organization to end up in this boat. So thank you for being here and for understanding the event. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. I am happy to take questions from any of our attendees if we've got them. Which you can either put in the chat, I think, or you can put in the Q&A feature, either one. I should be able to see.
Lauren, no questions so far, but again, folks, you can use either the Q&A feature or the chat if you have questions. Or it may be, Lauren, that you just did such a fantastic job and that website is so great that we just don't have any questions for today.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for attending. We will have this webinar recorded and available on the web in some way to be determined someday soon. So we will share that when it's ready. And email us at involvement.smu@smu.edu if you have any questions. Thanks.